I want to take you to the Kulbhushan Jadhav case. We're representing India at The Hague, and ask yourself that question. Did you ask yourself that same question when you came back from that argument? For me and for a lot of our viewers here and people in the audience, that was one of the most iconic moments of Indian law. And we were so proud, and we were so sure. We were uncertain. But we knew that it is not an ordinary person representing the country at The Hague. It was the one and only Harish Salve who carried that on his shoulders to The Hague. I remember I sent Rhythm Anand Bhardwaj. She's there somewhere to chase you. And she kept chasing you. You're there, Rhythm? You chased him from the airport to the hotel, and he was looking very distracted. And we wonder sometimes what goes on in his mind. The whole country saying, what is Harish Salve going to say? What is the Pakistani lawyer going to say? It was one of the most iconic moments. Can I play, before I ask you, as you savor the memory of that moment once again, let me play a clip from that. Shall we play a clip from that historic case, the Kulbhushan Jadhav case in the International Court of Justice at The Hague, please? Do we have the clip?
The case is simple. Shorn of the irrelevancies sought to be injected, there are two broad issues that arise in this case. The first issue relates to the construction of the Vienna Convention, particularly Article 36 of the Convention and its application to the facts of the case. On this, the admitted position being that consular access was not granted. If Pakistan's strange defense of exclusion of such cases is not accepted, then it has to be found that Pakistan is an egregious breach of the Vienna Convention.
A brief of your introduction in that case. Step away from that moment a minute and tell us what was going on in your mind. What was the inside story of that case? What happened? What happened which we haven't reported?
So the inside story is I happened to be in India for some work, and Rhythm barged into my house where I was staying that time and said, I need to take an interview. I said, over what? He says, Indian has been sentenced to death. What do you do? So in an offhanded comment, I said to Rhythm, oh, well, we should explore maybe going to the International Court of Justice. And she played it, I think your channel played it all over. And next afternoon, I got a call from the late Sushma Swaraj. She was like an older sister. So she called, I said, yes, Didi, what can I do for you? She said, you said something to Republic TV. I said, I say all sorts of things. What did I say yesterday? She said, you said this. I said, yes. She says, PMO called and said, call him and ask him to start. I said, oh my God, I've not even thought it through. Cut to the chase, we worked on it, we built a case, and one of my juniors, super bright, Chetna, she worked on the case with me. And on a lighter vein, I must tell you, I don't know whether your generation has used to have a magazine called Mad Magazine.
Yes, sir.
It was a satire.
Yes, sir.
Which had one section called Spy versus Spy.
Sir.
So we were doing a little Spy versus Spy. I was told everything which I wrote in that case, I used to either dictate into my voice recognition or type myself on my desktop after disconnecting it from the internet. Save it on a pen drive. Chetna would take that pen drive into her laptop after disconnecting it, correct it. Mr. Mittal, who is now, I believe, an ambassador somewhere, he used to take it. He was that time secretary on the desk of what is called PI, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran. He used to take that pen drive to his office. And that's how we worked up this draft. One copy was printed in Sushma Ji's house for being shown to the Prime Minister. Next day she said, go right ahead. That pen drive was taken to Blackstone Chambers in London, where all the paper books were prepared and filed. And our ambassador at Hague, I mean, on a private level, they all talk to each other. The Pakistani asked him, how did you pull this off? We didn't get wind of this. Because if they had got wind of it, they had executed him, that would have been the end of the matter. So that's how we brought this case.
When you dealt with the Pakistani representative out there, what did you make of him?
It's very interesting. Let me not talk about Khawar Qureshi, because that's another story. His own people were embarrassed by him. But we had an awkward moment because there is a tradition in the ICJ, especially when you have a full hearing. So when we were there for the 5-day hearing, on day 3, the president invites everybody for a cup of coffee inside. So I had finished my submissions. I was in my court uniform. The other side were in informal clothes. They changed. They all came inside. And I was very worried about how things would look if this came out in the media, because if you remember, Pulwama had just happened. And any overly friendly public gestures between us would have been misunderstood. On a private, none of them seemed to be convinced what was happening was right.